attention to the source of gifts or items you purchase or receive? Do you keep or transport property on behalf of others? Regardless of the answers you give to these questions, stay with us as we discuss dishonestly receiving and possession of stolen property. This is Law Express, and my name is Noella Seidu.
Cedro, a private legal practitioner, enjoys reading and actively engaging in discussions on social media platforms. James Kofi Afedo, a private legal practitioner with a passion for the law, finds joy in a variety of activities during his leisure time, including watching movies, listening to music, cooking, and reading. She is a private legal practitioner and a consistent member of our 3-lawyer panel on the show every week. She also doubles as the host of the show. She likes to play tennis and read.
First thing viewers want to know is, what is this honestly receiving property within the terms of our criminal jurisprudence?
Okay, so in dishonest receiving, if a person receives, buys, or disposes of property, which is a product of a crime, and the crimes are varied.
Yeah.
It could be stealing, it could be extortion, it could be robbery, it could be fraud. Any of those offenses. If you receive a good, or you buy it, or you help in its disposal, knowing very well that the particular good in question is a product of any of these offenses I have just outlined, then you can be fixed with the crime of dishonest receiving.
Great. So the main component is the fact that you should know what you're doing?
Yeah, knowledge is an important element. So you should know that whatever product you are receiving is the result of an activity by someone else which was against the law.
Yeah.
So maybe the person has gone to Tiptoe Lane in Circle, for example, to buy a mobile phone, gets an iPhone 14 for 1,500 cedis. You know that iPhone 14 Pro Max is not 1,500 cedis. So that cannot be from a genuine source.
How about
So what's... Yeah, go ahead.
It's just somebody in distress selling it for close to nothing because they need some money?
Do you know that person?
Of course not, but then you don't also know for a fact that it's a stolen property, right? I agree with you, but I'm trying to look at what loopholes could be here in terms of it can't be one shoe fits all.
So the law also looks at circumstances of the fact.
Okay.
So if you look at the circumstances, you know that on the market, that phone does not cost 1,500 cedis.
So what did you do to figure out why it's
so
being
you
sold for that?
have to be careful, ask more questions. There should be some documentary evidence of how the person got the phone. The person should be willing to issue you a receipt that can be used to trace back to the person. Once those things are not available, you can't say that, I didn't know that
Buyer
the phone...
beware.
Yes. So obviously, that is a circumstance that could allow the court to presume that you should have known that this cannot be 1,500. So in that case, the law will presume that you have an intention or you have the knowledge of the fact that that phone was stolen and
so there's
you
a
bought it.
presumption of knowledge that you know this is obtained or appropriated by a criminal offense.
Exactly.
But then there's also the actual knowledge.
Exactly.
Which
So
where
both
it's
ways,
very clear that you know.
Yeah.
Probably you witnessed the crime.
The crime. Or you probably planned with a person to go and steal the thing and then later on received it. You know, so that could be an example.
But you also be safe if you go to a store or a location where they deal in that particular good.
Yeah.
So if you go to a phone shop and you buy a phone and you pay for it and you take a receipt, it will be difficult for you to be fixed with the evil intent as far as dishonest receiving is concerned. But if the person who is giving out the good is not a person who deals in that particular good in the usual course of business, so these are the red flags to watch. If the person does not sell a car, does not sell a motorbike, does not sell phones or a particular object or item, and he brings it or she brings it for you to buy, you need to watch out, because you may not have any defense if you are charged. But if it is the usual way of doing business and then you go to buy, then you may have some defense. Because how are you supposed to know that whatever is being sold in the phone shop is a stolen phone?
Yeah.
I mean, so
it's very important we have this conversation, especially because the liability for this offense is just as grave as the one who actually committed the crime of
that is so.
Stealing or whatever means the
Robbery
person got.
whatever.
But let's look at it from the other side. What about those who assist with the disposal?
Yeah.
You did not join him to commit a crime, but he brought the good. You know that this property is stolen. And then you become the agent who finds buyers actively, because probably you still own a phone shop and that is what you do on the daily. You are assisting in the disposal. Can we probably discuss that further?
Yeah, it's possible that even though you are in your normal course of business, maybe you sell phones or books or a car or whatever, and then along the line somebody brings it to you to be sold to you, you can be charged. Because the person bringing it to you, like my brother said earlier, the price of the item, is it ridiculously low? If it is, then it should put you on alert that something is amiss. But where it is not ridiculously low and you receive it and pay for it, even as a person helping in the disposal, you may get away. I don't know whether you are getting my point.
I'm trying to get you, but I'm looking at it from the innocent purchase of a value. I mean, I've walked into a phone shop. You do not know that whatever is on display was stolen. Sometimes it might not even be stealing simplicity, failing to go through the right channels in importing stuff, where you're breaking the law, the customs rules, and evading taxes to clear your goods. It's a criminal conduct, right?
Yeah.
So the proceeds from those, yes, you bring it to the shop, you can even be selling it at the actual price. But at this point, the one with the liability is the one doing the active sale, not the buyer.
Yes.
Because for you, this is a legitimate transaction, and you're paying what you would have paid if it was even not in that particular shop. I don't know if you get my point.
Yes.
I believe I do as well. What the law actually allows room for is for you to be able to explain the circumstances of you getting that particular product. If you explain and the state is satisfied with that explanation that, okay, it's reasonable, then you have not committed any offense.
That is on the aspect of the receiving or buying. I'm looking at the one aiding the criminal in disposing.
In disposing.
Yes.
It will apply the same way as well.
Great.
Because you knew that this is obviously a proceed of some kind of crime.
Yes.
And you are helping the person to benefit from that by, disposing it off or by selling it. You can't rely on your claim to lack of knowledge to say that, well, you're just doing your job, you didn't know about it, and so you should be let go. The circumstances or your conduct in that regard will also count. There is one case where the proceeds of the crime was given to a third party to hide or to conceal in the person's house. And when the police came to investigate or to search, they realized that the things were not visible, which means that he knew that those
he had
products.
to hide.
So when you do that, obviously your conduct has already given you up. So you'll be guilty as the person who actually stole the property.
So in this offense, we're looking at the one who actually, for that, we're not the one who started the whole thing. The criminal who found a way to get this property wrongly. And then we're looking at the one in the chain who is helping you dispose it of, and the one who finally receives it in that order. So there are about three different people connected to this particular matter.
Yeah, because the law is founded on dishonesty. So if your conduct is honest, no problem with that. But once there's an element of dishonesty, which means that there's an intention to deceive, defraud, to appropriate the thing away from its owner without a person's consent, know that you are trying to get the property back to the person who owns it.
Because that is the only instance you're allowed to deal with that property.
Yes.
You should have that intention to restore it back to its owner.
Exactly.
And the facts of each situation will tell us whether you are being dishonest. The facts will tell us whether you are being dishonest. Maybe at the time of receipt of the goods, there is a communication. And the communication clearly shows that you honestly believe it belongs to the person giving it to you. And so, or you even made mention of the fact that, are you sure this is legitimate? I don't want problem. The person, no, don't worry. It is my own thing that I want to sell because I'm broke. So if those facts are available to show that you even expressed misgivings and you were a bit skeptical about the transaction,
but was assured,
then it will take away from you that guilty mind.
Yeah. Because you intended to do the right thing.
To do the right thing.
Go.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that point is also very important because when it comes to trial, there are responsibilities on the part of the prosecution to prove the case against you. And you also, when it's time for your defense, you have the responsibility to say things or explain things that would make it difficult for you to be convicted.
Yeah.
So for this particular offense that involves knowledge and actual possession or presumed or all of those things, once the state says that you did have the knowledge to steal, when it came to your explanation, you should be able to prove that actually you didn't have the knowledge. Then you would be likely to be let go and not punished for it.
And the person you transact business with is also important.
Credibility.
You see,
I don't know if you have been approached in traffic by some boys, funny-looking boys
with
phones and watches and bracelets and all of those things.
Maybe buy cassava.
Right.
No, cassava is easy to buy. Yam is easy to buy.
But even that. Yeah, so definitely you will have to be cautious because even in that moment when you stopped to want to transact that business, the police can come after you.
Or they track the phone back to wherever you found yourself.
Exactly. And then you'll be in trouble.
I think it's time to go for a quick breather. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Don't go away. This is Law Express.
So another thing that needs to be looked at is the geographical location or the place at which the offense took place or the act was conducted. So you can't say that, well, the phone was stolen in Canada. I bought it in Accra. Clearly, I cannot be held responsible for that because I don't know. The law is blind to that. So whether the offense was committed outside Ghana or not, the courts of Ghana have the power to prosecute you in relation to that offense. It is the same thing with offenses within Ghana as well. You can't say that, well, I bought the car in Tamale and I've been charged in Tema. Why? It's the same thing as well. The law is blind when it comes to what we lawyers call jurisdiction or the power of the courts to hear or try the case and determine your fate. So basically, we have to pay attention to that. The example we gave earlier about stolen car work in this particular example because most often the customs of people stop cars, then they realize that no, when they run it through the Interpol system, the car was stolen by some criminal and shipped to this place. It's an offense. You can still be held for it.
And so when it comes to fixing with liability, questions will be asked. How did you buy the car? Where are the documents? When a person is buying a car which has been imported, which custom documents is the person expected to take custody of? Have you taken custody of those documents? So if there is lack of answer to some of these questions, you can be fixed with criminal liability.
You're saying it as if it's only cars and things that can be dishonestly received. I mean, tomatoes don't have documents, way bills, and customs records ordinarily, but that can still be the subject matter of dishonestly receiving.
Yes, that's
true.
So.
How did you get it?
Yeah, so let's say a driver brings tomatoes from Burkina Faso. Then that driver along the line comes to you and wants to sell to you some of those tomatoes. He's a driver, for crying out loud. He's not a tomato seller.
But he drives between Burkina Faso and Accra. And he could have bought those because he saw an opportunity. He had space in his car. He could afford it and knew that he'd get more money for it. See, I'm just trying to let us see that it's not always that the matters around it would determine that.
Exactly.
I mean, I won't be surprised if a driver who applies Kumasi Accra has plantains in his car for sale to me. Because if on the way he sees it for cheap and he thinks, if I bring this to Accra, especially after offloading things, I'm coming empty and I can buy tomatoes, plantain, palm, nuts and sell to people, I will make money to the neighbors. That's something that you can expect, right?
But you have a 50-50 situation when it comes to you being fixed with criminal liability. You have to be very careful.
I mean, I'm sure the police investigator will understand that. I mean, everybody wants to survive, okay? And you don't expect that the driver on that highway would steal tomatoes.
No,
you don't.
Okay.
Exactly.
Not necessarily. So that's why we said earlier that the law allows you room to explain.
Yeah.
So if, as a result of buying that basket of tomatoes from wherever, a police officer appears at your door and say, well, this thing has been stolen. You knew about it and bought it for cheap. Your job now is to be able to explain that I just, it was reasonable that I stand by the roadside, find someone who's coming from Kumasi with a tomatoes or basket of tomatoes, and I bought it. It's reasonable.
It will be an uphill task for you.
Because
the driver is not a market queen.
Maybe he's a road market king. But going back to the matter of jurisdiction, it's important to explain to our viewers that the courts have, should I call it, some zoning, which is what is called jurisdiction, such that ordinarily, if you commit a crime in Burkina Faso, okay, and you are a national of Burkina Faso, the courts cannot come there to bring the person here to come and try. It's outside the jurisdiction. Now, with a criminal jurisdiction, if you commit a crime in Ofako, there's a whole police command within Ofako, which will handle your prosecution right there, because that's where, that's the area that this crime was committed. That is not to say that it outs the jurisdiction of the CID headquarters in Accra, where petitions can be brought and they still can handle matters. I'm saying this to explain further that what this law says is that, or what this whole crime, the prosecution of this crime suggests is that if you commit an offense in, say, America, partially or wholly, for as long as it is a criminal offense within our laws in Ghana, if you find yourself here within the reach of our laws or our courts, regardless of the fact that a part of this crime was committed outside the borders of Ghana, you can still be prosecuted. Correct. It doesn't even matter if the entire crime was committed out there. For as long as it is a criminal offense within this country, within the space of dishonestly receiving, you can be prosecuted here and punished. So you can say, oh, I'm American and I committed it in America. Well, that is conversation for higher level
Immigration
diplomatic
authorities, yeah.
negotiations. But
Yeah.
on the face of it, you can be prosecuted here
Yeah.
and punished for that offense.
An example is this Hajia for real story, the celebrity who has been in Ghana, almost all the time, was receiving money in bank accounts that were traced to her. Because it was a criminal offense, it does not matter where the act was completed. Once it's an offense under U.S. law and the proceeds of the crime came from U.S. citizens, obviously the U.S. courts have jurisdiction.
Or maybe if Hajia for real gave you money during the period she was receiving the money.
Yeah.
Who knows?
But you should have known that that money was obtained from criminal activity.
No, but
To
here
be
was a role model.
to be pinned down by our law. I'm
Yes.
just going back to intent
Yes.
and actual knowledge. You see, did you know or presume knowledge? Did you know that, or you assume that it's from another business that perhaps she was running?
Which under the circumstance could be reasonable because she's a celebrity, she's a musician.
Yeah.
So you can assume that, okay, this is money she genuinely, owned.
And she was a role model.
Aha.
So if a role model gave you money, fair enough.
Yeah.
So probably it would have been difficult.
Acts of philanthropy. So this person is committing crimes, but you are sitting in your corner. The person donates to you as a charitable act. Am I going to be guilty for some offense?
I don't think so.
Because when it comes to charity, very few people actually check to see your source of revenue when it comes to gifting.
Yeah. That's a tricky one, I would say.
And that would
You
make
are
the
sitting in your
pastors
corner, you are in need.
uncomfortable.
Yeah. It will
To
make
make
the
the
pastors
pastors
very
uncomfortable because on Sundays, a lot of money is given out.
When it comes to giving to things of God, nobody really checks.
Yeah.
Hardly, unless it's so unreasonable
Yeah.
that it makes everybody worried. But if it's within some figure, which everybody knows is normal in the course of seed money, donations, and offertory, I don't think it's bad. If you sit in a church and somebody that you know is struggling, all of a sudden drops a seed offering of $1 million, and you know this guy till the week before didn't have any job, you haven't heard of any announcement that he's won a bet or any lotteries, which on its own has its own implications within the church space. I don't think any pastor would be calm about it.
Nah.
Yes, they will receive it because it's not for them, it's for the work of God.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they will all call you to the side to ask,
find out.
what's the testimony behind this, your new seed offering? We sampled people's opinion on this topic, okay? Let's take a listen, then we pick up from where we stop.
Okay.
So to me, I think before you purchase a pre-used item, you have to check the source. This is because according to the Constitution of Ghana, if you should purchase a product without knowing the source and it happens that that product is a stolen product, please, you are also likely to go to jail. So you have to check the source.
I'm not going to check the source of a pre-used item because I have bought some items that are second-hand used and I didn't get any problem or issues with them. So actually, I'm not sure I'm going to check the source of a pre-used item.
Interesting that everybody appears to be fixated on pre-used items. Probably that's a more common situation where these things usually happen.
Yes, I mean, it is not only about pre-used items. It could be brand new items. But it's interesting. The second guy, it's interesting the way he saw it. But
probably it's about the kind of things he's buying. Hardly will you hear that somebody has bought maybe second-hand clothing and gotten into trouble.
True.
Probably he's not buying second-hand gadgets because that's where normally cars, gadgets like phones, television sets, that's where normally these things come up.
Yeah.
But if what he buys, second-hand clothing, shoes, he might not really have an issue till the day he decides to buy that wristwatch.
It's actually common because you won't want to check. You don't have any reason to want to check whether the suit you're buying or the shirt you're buying is actually from the correct source or not. So you just buy it.
But if you go
But-
to Cantamanto, everybody knows that's the correct source for
Yeah, that's
used
it.
goods.
Even
If
on the
it's
streets,
clothing,
actually.
outfits.
Yeah, even on the streets,
Yeah, so
you still can buy clothing without really getting too
on the
worried.
streets, how do you even do a fitting?
No, you don't do fitting. You
Like
know your
you just-
size. So you just check the neck. Is it?
Why
You
don't
know,
you just
whatever.
go to the headquarters like everybody does?
Well, good point.
Go there,
But-
try the clothes out, buy your outfit.
But you see, going to Cantamanto is no joke. The stress.
Yeah, but
The
then you
traffic.
have more options.
True.
You buy from a source that is fixed. It's not somebody moving around. The person has a shop. Unless you get there and you decide to buy from those who are moving around and tagging at you and saying this is your size.
Well, we are a third world economy.
So
it's common.
Within the context of the Vox Pop, the
Yeah.
education must go out there that it is not only about second-hand
Second-hand,
goods.
yeah.
It could be brand new goods or pre-used items or whatever. So we shouldn't limit dishonestly receiving to
Yeah.
things that, or items that have been used.
Yeah.
It could be brand new. So that education needs to go to the public. Yes, so whether it is brand new or it is coming from the farm fresh, we've spoken about
They could be
tomatoes
stolen, yeah.
by a driver driving from Burkina Faso and selling it on the way. You should know that the person is not a market queen. You should know that he is a below, as we say. He's somebody holding what belongs to another person
Not
to deliver
necessarily.
to that person.
I still hold that for somebody who moves around from place to place, as a side job, like many people do now to survive, you probably are a haulage entity. You drive things to Burkina, but then coming back you are empty. The car has nothing. You can choose to put stuff in there if it's your truck to come and sell.
True.
Probably what you should do is maybe make sure that the people on the other side give you receipts or some evidence, right?
True.
But it's
one
not
thing
out of
to,
place if you ask me.
Yeah, one thing to also watch out for is this. If that person coming down from Burkina has a whole truckload of plantain,
Yes.
you can't say that you are able to afford that from your own means of driving that truck from Burkina Faso to Accra. So clearly, that would be a problem.
How is
But
that
if
a
it's just
problem?
one-
Maybe he can.
Really?
You can be a business owner and you are one of the people that drive the trucks that you own. And you decide that instead of driving an empty truck back, maybe your wife sells products.
Okay,
you
so
can
you
just
buy-
load it, bring it to her to sell. But on the way, there are people stopping you. So you're like, do you want to buy plantain? So you start the business ahead. I'm just saying that there are other nuanced things that could be happening around it. And it's
Agreed.
not always that where it's an outlier, then automatically it's a crime
Agreed.
in action.
Agreed. So, in the first
The
place,
lawyer in you is playing tricks on you. You're trying to play the devil's
devil's
advocate.
advocate. Yeah, she wants to be the devil.
I'm trying to be the
it will not
hustler's
help you.
advocate because many people have, second jobs, third jobs, side gigs.
Yeah.
You don't sell clothing, but you have a cousin in the United States who shows up with nice shirts,
Yeah.
gives them to you, and you decide to sell that.
Yeah.
Are you committing a crime? No.
In
you
that
don't
instance,
own a shop.
no.
Exactly. Similarly, you drive a car. You've seen that, look, even if it's not a truck full, you can buy maybe 5 heads or bunches. Why not? You bring it in, you sell it to the neighbors, and they know you travel. Some of them might actively moving forward, give you money ahead
Yeah.
to bring some more for them.
Yeah.
So how is this a crime?
No,
Good.
that is different.
We don't know that.
Yes.
One, we don't know that it's a crime, but we also don't know that it's not a crime. You get it?
So
Please go ahead.
yes, I'm
The
just saying.
details of the facts will lead us to whether there is a crime committed
Perfect.
or not.
And this is all I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
This is
The
all I wanted to
circumstance.
hear. We shouldn't make it look like once it looks like something, then automatically it is that thing.
But to avoid criminal prosecution, we need to be careful not to create a situation where it is difficult for us to be believed
Yes.
when the issues crop up.
Because you
That's
mentioned
very, very
keeping
important.
communication and records earlier on in on the show, and it occurred to me, that we have to add that yes, sometimes you might be innocent, but then the facts of the case work so heavily against you that
Yeah.
an innocent person can go in. It
Possible.
happens.
Yeah.
Because if the entire conversation was held on the phone, and it's a verbal conversation, How do you prove it if it's not text messages, emails, WhatsApp messages?
Oh, even that, if you are lucky, they could obtain the records from the phone.
Can they get the actual voice recordings? Is that
now I hear they
done?
can. Now I hear it's possible.
Okay.
I think up to a certain point. After that,
That's
goes,
the problem.
Uh-huh.
So if up to a certain point you don't have that,
yeah,
what do you
then
do?
it's a problem. We just have to be cautious.
Yeah.
As
Especially
individuals.
because of how far-reaching this
The law
particular
can go.
crime is.
Yes, yes. We just have to be cautious. Be a bit nosy. Ask
And
questions if you have to.
circumspect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you are suspicious of something, ask. Rather
If you're
than
unsure,
to be
just
sorry.
stay off.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you
just
can
stay
always
off. Go
get
to
another
the correct
place.
places and get the thing for yourself.
And if it's too cheap, you should put
It's
you
a
on
red
alert.
flag. It's a red flag.
Too
Maybe
cheap.
the person is just doing a discount sale.
Still a red flag. You have to be careful.
It's time to go for another
Is
break.
it a discount sale in a shop that deals in the particular goods we are talking about?
It's just a discount
on
sale
the-
from the
on the-
driver who's decided that he needs money urgently for hospital, okay?
Okay. Well, you can explain when the
Yeah.
time comes.
We'll go for a break now, and when we come back, we talk about possession simpliciter. This time, not just receiving per se, but possession of stolen property. Don't go away. Do stay with us.
So there is also the possession of stolen property. And if you look at the law, it shifts the presumption to you if you're in possession of things that have been stolen. Then you may have to do a lot of explanation.
Okay.
You know, the general rule is that you prove a crime beyond reasonable doubt. But there are exceptions. Sometimes the legislation will fix you with responsibility to explain why you should not be presumed to have committed a crime, as in this case.
So we're looking at the satisfaction or satisfactory explanation. So once again, it comes back to what I was explaining about the driver with the plantain, right?
Yeah.
Assuming he can satisfactorily explain how he came about it, then nobody's going to assume that he stole those products.
Yeah.
But then,
the explanation must be reasonable.
of course, and you must satisfy the court.
Yes.
So we're looking at you have to have first received dishonestly the goods, and it should be found on you. So this possession. So, or under your control.
Under your control.
So if you give it to your driver to keep away or store for you, it's still under your control.
Yeah. Yeah. A third party who holds that thing on your behalf
Yes.
is under your control, command and control. And so you still would be found liable of committing that offense.
So if you get that watch from off somebody who is stolen it, and you give it to your child to keep for you,
Yep.
you
You
are the
would.
one who be liable and not the innocent child who is holding it for you
Yeah.
because she's just, or he or she's keeping it until you call it back, right?
Exactly. So, I mean, this thing is really real.
Yeah.
Very, very real. I mean, you just innocently buy an item thinking that, it was your lucky day. After a few moments, then you realize that actually you are only getting something that has been stolen.
At that
And
point,
because it's with you,
there's a presumption you stole it,
yeah,
or you know, you're
contributed
guilty.
to
Yeah.
the act of stealing. So if you can't explain why that thing is now in your custody, possession or control,
To the
then
satisfaction of the court, because
Yeah.
you could still explain, and if the court is not satisfied,
yes,
you're guilty of possession of stolen property.
yeah,
So what about this warehouse owner who has a commercial interest? You have your warehouse, you are renting it. Do you have the responsibility or duty to check with whoever is coming to rent your space, maybe the person's way bills and other receipts? Is that a requirement?
Yes, you have to, because there are persons who may come with proceeds of crime. And so if it is your business to keep goods purchased by persons, or you keep goods that are brought to you, you have to ascertain the source of the goods. so that you can. It will not lie in your mouth to say that you didn't know that it was a stolen good.
I, for some reason, do not agree. Reason being that by merely storing the goods, okay, I'm still not in control of those goods. I'm doing my business. I'm trying to earn an income. And you can't be nosy in asking people, where did you get this? If, for instance, a business person that brings a truckload of stuff, especially as you are not in actual possession in terms of control. The things are there at the pleasure of whoever stored them.
So if it's a business person who brings the goods, that's a business person.
And that comes to the warehouse scenario.
Yes. So,
but if it's your home, and then the person shows up and says, "Can you put it in your garage for me?"
No.
That is where the issue of being complicit in the crime might come in.
But even the warehouse, if the person bringing the goods to you is not known to carry out a certain, that business.
Maybe he's a new startup for that particular
then probably
business.
you must have evidence to show that you are honestly dealing with him. Because the element of dishonesty is always there. You will look at the facts surrounding the matter and see whether it is reasonably to be inferred that you dealt with the person honestly without any guilty mind.
Another factor which we need to consider is that for the offense of possession of stolen property to work, the person who is being charged should have already been charged with the offense of dishonestly receiving. You get it?
Yeah.
So,
well, if you don't receive, it won't be in your possession.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if it is proven that you dishonestly received it, and the thing is actually in fact with you
or under your control,
because
then
you've given it to someone
the next charge
else,
of possession of stolen property would lie.
Yeah.
And your cooperation with the police or the law enforcement agencies may also help you.
Yes.
So if you cooperate and you show that you didn't have any, any evil intent,
or you didn't even know it was
you
stolen,
may actually be used as a witness against the person who stole the
Great.
property.
We have some questions coming in by way of social media, and like I always say, these are just a few paragraphs. We don't have the opportunity to ask follow-up questions. We would not have any or background knowledge, but we will try to answer them to the best of our ability, considering our limitation.
If I buy a phone on the streets, which is later discovered to be a stolen gadget, can I be guilty of a crime for just buying that phone?
Yes. Why do we buy phones on the street? You are walking and you buy a phone? No. That is why it's important for you to actually go to designated places where those items are sold. So you don't just buy things on the street. To be on the safer side, it's in your own interest to go to a shop where those items are sold.
Also, even the risk involved in buying from the streets, apart from the crime.
Yeah, apart from the crime, you end up buying what?
You'll be defrauded. You buy
you end up buying stone, actually.
Yes.
Or get an iPhone, which becomes an Android phone.
Yeah, it just comes on and it's different messaging.
Exactly.
Because at what point did you test it? Do you have a receipt to show?
Yeah, you don't
Is
have
there a warranty here? Because most gadgets have warranty.
Yeah.
How sure are you that if it's defective, where do you take it back to switch?
Exactly.
Or swap?
Yeah.
There are just so many variables at play apart from the fact that you're opening yourself up to a potential crime.
So don't do it. Don't do it.
It's a risk. If the person, it's not everybody who buys off the street that is eventually found guilty. Once again.
True.
But the possibility of getting into trouble, very high.
Very those who have the benefit of watching this program should not do it. If for nothing at all, don't do it.
Yeah. Now they know, right?
Yeah, they know.
And ignorance of the law is not an excuse.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you can't come back to say that I did not know that buying this at a ridiculously cheap price without the charger even attached to it from that guy in the corner who sold an iPhone 14 Pro Max to me for 600 cedis is a criminal offense.
Yeah, you can't.
Because everything shows after being charged with dishonestly receiving, when you now are charged with the possession of that stolen property, how do you explain your way out to the satisfaction of the court that you didn't know that this could have been a proceed from
Yeah.
a crime.
It's difficult. And I mean, the punishment for these offenses are not minimal punishment.
You are
They are
punished
very-
as if you actually stole
Exactly.
that item.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of punishment.
So it's no joke. It's very, very important that we all take ourselves seriously and not engage in such risky behavior
Yeah.
of getting things off the street.
Great.
A friend left a personal effect with me for a while. Upon his return from a month-long trip to a neighboring country, he gifted me a wristwatch from the items I stored and took the rest away. Yesterday, he came here in the company of some police detectives. I was told the watch was stolen, and so I was arrested as well. Will I be jailed with him? I swear I didn't know the items were stolen.
Well, you have to cooperate with the police. You must be honest and tell your side of the story. You see, you can worsen your case if you try to defend your friend. Just tell the police, look, this is my friend. He brought A, B, C, D items, and I kept it over time, and he gave me this. I had no knowledge that it was a stolen item. And also, you should be careful. Is that friend of yours in the habit of stealing? If
Show me your friend.
he is known to have stolen in the past, and then you keep the items he has brought to you, that will also imply that you knew that the items were
Or
stolen.
you ought to have known,
Exactly.
you know.
Yeah, I'll pick up on that point. If the items that this friend brought to you to keep are items of high value, and you know that this is not a friend who
Can afford
can afford,
those, yeah.
and you've kept these things for 1 month, keeping it for him or her, and then he comes and say, okay, I'm dashing you this, and you take it, you can explain for as much as you want, but the circumstance would...
No evidence.
Exactly.
Well, I agree with you, but I will look at it from a different perspective. First of all, why is your friend storing with you? He doesn't have a house again, or his house is not secure. There should be a valid or plausible reason why he
Explanation.
selected you to store those things. Is your friend in the habit of storing things with you? Does your friend have a sibling or a closer relationship or relative that he could have stored with but opted for you? All these things should make, let your radar go up.
Yeah.
Why is he choosing me? Why is he storing with me? Is it because my home is far from where he lives in a way that nobody would have expected that he'd be storing with me? How close are you to this friend that he selected you to keep things of value, including a wristwatch, which caused all this problem?
Yeah.
So that's the first aspect. Why is your friend even traveling? Is it for a holiday?
Yeah, to where?
But looking at the chain of events and the things you should have looked out for at the time your friend came to you,
That a
the
reasonable
presumption,
man.
exactly,
Yeah,
the
would pay
presumption
attention.
works against you because you would not be able to successfully convince the court that you were innocent, because any reasonable person should have picked on these things. How big is even your house to start with? Maybe you live in a small house, you don't already have space.
Yeah.
Your friend lives in a bigger house, but still carries his things to you. How did he convince you to carry these things, to keep them? Are you a security officer? Or you have like a big safe in your home? Why you?
Maybe you can only get away if your friend came to lodge with you upon return from a trip
Yeah.
and was in your house and kept the items in your house. Perhaps.
So
And
he's
also-
also there, resident at the time of this
Exactly,
whole trouble.
exactly.
Okay.
But if he lived elsewhere and came and brought the goods to you and went back, he should have put you on notice
Because if
that
the friend lived with you and had the goods, you are not even a part of the story, because he is in possession and control.
Mm-hmm.
The things are just in your physical
your
space,
physical
but he
space,
is in actual possession or presumed possession, because they are his things and not yours.
Yeah.
but you are the owner of the house.
I mean, you just own the premises, but we are looking at control of the items. You can't take any of those items and deal with them without that person's permission. You can't dispose of
Yeah, no,
those
you
things.
can't. You
You
can't.
can't donate them. You can't even wear them.
Mm-hmm.
You need the express space. So it's under his control, and because he's also in the space, when they come, you can just say, well, these are this person's items. But if he leaves them with you and goes away, at that point, And assuming your friend hadn't returned from the trip and they'd come for you, how do you even explain?
Yeah. And in this case, he even came from the trip, retrieved the items, gave you one, went away. Then later it came out that there's a problem with the items.
Yeah.
Surely you must have known something, or you ought to have known something.
And you see, it's
about those
important to
items.
add now that if you're found guilty, regardless of whether you actually were or not, if you can't give a plausible reason, justification, and you're found guilty,
Yeah.
you'll be punished just like him.
Yeah.
But then again, you could have just said no thanks, right?
Yeah.
To the watch.
But yeah, let's add that this is not to scare the person. If this is a real story.
Just be honest.
Yeah, just be honest with the police, as my colleague has said. Explain your side of the story. Cooperate with them with the investigation.
Of your ability.
Yeah, if it comes out that you really genuinely did not know anything about this, you'll be out.
Nobody would be interested in putting you away for nothing.
And as general advice, be careful whose gift you receive.
And who you make friends with also.
Yes.
And know a lot more about your friends and what they do.
On this note, I think we have come to the end of today's show. We've been discussing dishonestly receiving property and possession of stolen property. I was joined today on the panel by Leonard Sedro and James Kofi Afedo. My name is Noella Seidu, and this has been our show.